We appreciate it.
We'll call the meeting to order at 6:37, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're getting a little bit of a late start this evening, so that we had some technical difficulties with the camera. So we'll do a roll call, please.
George Cullis.
Here.
Karen Winchester.
Here.
Mark Freeman.
Here.
Pat Feeney.
Here.
Steve Ruth.
Motion to excuse Steve Ruth from tonight's meeting.
Support. We have a motion by Treasurer Freeman, support by Trustee Feeney to excuse Steve Ruth from tonight's meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go on to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. They do not require discussion by the Township Board and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will automatically be moved to the last item under new business. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda, including the deletion of number 7 under new business, Deputy Treasurer's position.
So I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with an amendment removing item 7.
Support.
Is that the set public hearing thing?
No, number 7 under new business.
Oh, under new business. Okay. So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with an amendment that eliminates item number 7 under new business, and we have support from Pat Feeney. Treasurer Feeney. Roll call, please.
Pat Feeney.
Yes.
Mark Freeman.
Yes.
Karen Winchester.
No.
George Cullis.
Yes. Okay, we will move on to public hearings. Adoption of a resolution to establish an industrial development district in accordance with the Plant Rehabilitation and Industrial Development Districts. Being the State of Michigan Public Act 198 of 1974, under the MCL of 207.551 as amended.
And move to
Open the hearing.
open the hearing. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Clerk Winchester
Support.
and support by Treasurer Freeman to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. So we are now open in public hearing under the adoption of the resolution to establish the Industrial Development District in accordance with the Plant Rehabilitation and Industrial Development Districts of the State of Michigan Public Act 198 of 1974. Anybody care to speak? Yes, sir.
What exactly is that?
What is?
The adoption of resolution establishing the industrial development district in accordance with the Plant Rehabilitation and Industrial Development Districts.
It's in the northeast corner. Do we have the? It's Shannon Distributors, which is up on Dixie Highway. He's got a map there.
And by the way, we are representing 11455
You,
Directly across the street from Shannon Distribution.
oh, okay. Did you want to speak
Yes.
on the topic? What I need you to do is come to the podium, state your name and address, and then go ahead and speak.
My name is Stephen Ball. My address is 11455 Dixie Highway, Holly, Michigan.
Can you pull that mic up?
I didn't
so we
know
can
that.
get you on
What was your name again? I couldn't hear.
Stephen Ball. And as far as the whole Shannon distribution has affected us in so many ways since it started back in September 2016. The noise from all the trucks. I worked nights at the time at the hospital, and I couldn't sleep at all. Every time I came home, with all the bulldozers, all the noise, all the residents, it was with all my fans on, I couldn't sleep. Now with all the trucks going by, luckily I work daytime now. But at night, you have the employees that, at 11 o'clock, they want to peel out and, rev their engines up. You have people playing bass. I understand that they put their bass on, half hour before they leave. Obviously, with all the light pollution, that was never driving out. I don't know. We never even got a notice saying that this was even going to happen. I feel bad that, I wasn't here before, but it was already in progress, so I couldn't do much about it. But as far as moving forward, I don't know what's going to be done for us. Living directly across the street from the approach with semi trucks going in and out all day long. I don't understand what the future holds for that area and what they want to do. But yeah, we definitely do not want this proposal to pass. And I don't know what else I need to say to anybody.
Okay. And just to clarify, you mentioned that you never received notice. All of the meetings that were had are public notice.
Yes.
And there is, unfortunately, while we don't mail a letter to everybody in the township, you do get.
You don't need to mail a letter to everybody in the township, but the fact that we live right across the street, there's only 6 homes there. You should mail a letter to us.
Well, these things were posted in the newspaper. We do according to law.
According to law, yes.
Law requires us to post in the newspaper. Law
So you do
requires
bare
us to
minimum,
post our minimum.
but we've been there since 1978, and bare minimum saying, oh yeah, it's on the website, it's in the newspaper. I understand, but out of courtesy, it would have been nice to get
I'm not exactly
some.
sure where your house is, but I think that whole area is zone commercial up in there. Am I
Light industrial.
Yeah.
or light industrial commercial? So it is the area in which you live. But
That was changed to light industrial, right? Before that,
Pardon?
it wasn't light industrial.
It's been like that for years.
I was going to say I've only been in office since 16, but the master
It's
plan
been
was
zoned
on
that way since prior to the water and sewer district going in.
Yeah, that was years and years ago. And
It's over 20 years, maybe more.
So when did Shannon Distribution decide to build there?
When?
Yeah.
That would be before I came.
Tony, would you know by chance?
Well,
what
either
year
way,
it
to
was?
actually have some kind of notice saying that that hey, this is going on right in front of your house would be nice. And I looked at the 2040 predictions of the future, and it has our areas being commercial or office buildings, and I understand who's in charge of that and how that is going to play out in the future.
Well, just to answer your question,
Yeah.
to give you a brief, master plans are created by the township on a periodic basis, 5 years, 10 years, and a master plan. The public notice is sent out. There is a public hearing. I wasn't an elected official at the time, but I went to the last one. It was held at NOCFA. There was probably several hundred people there. There were boards out to show the township, to talk about what people thought should happen, where zoning should take place, and so forth. So there's a lot of work that goes into that, and there's a lot of public input that's gleaned. And
I understand that, and I'm sorry to cut you short.
I hear your
I
frustration.
work 2 jobs, and I expect, I guess, the treasurers and the people that are elected in office to be able to take care of that kind of stuff for us. I thought that's what you did, because I don't think any of you would want Shannon Distribution in front of your house, would you? I talked to our real estate agent, and he said our land's been depreciated by $50,000, at least $50,000 since that building's gone up. Now, if I went to any of your homes and I took out $50,000, would you be upset?
Did you say depreciate
Depreciated.
or appreciate? Well, I'm not a real estate agent, but typically when they're in those zones, property values go up.
Well, I could understand because it is commercial. They have a home, right? Single family home, and that obviously when you're looking at a commercial or industrial area, they're not interested in the home. So I can understand where the value would gone down. Once it was made industrial, long before if it's over 20 years, I'd say long before you've seen anybody here, more or less, you have a home there, but basically there would never be approval for another home unless there was an exception made, right? I mean, because once it's
Not
made
zoned
into
for it.
But they can
they
still
could
do
build,
ones.
but it's industrial. And the thing is when someone presents an industrial project in an area that's zoned, as long as they meet the requirements, okay, and on the planning commission too, as long as they meet the requirements for zoning, for building structure, and meet all those requirements, it can't be denied. In other words, I can tell you right now from people who were on the planning commission to begin with, there were people who didn't want to see it there, Shannon. But the fact of the matter was, the law says they meet the requirements. It's zoned that way.
It's a permitted use in that
it's
zoning
the use
district.
for it. And it's like, I agree with you from the point of view
I
that
think-
you should have been notified. And
I
said,
thank you
this
for
is
your, I
what's-
appreciate your input too.
that this was coming. But to say that, you could have stopped it or anything.
We could have stopped
would be,
it. I understand that. I 100% understand that we couldn't have stopped it when it was already going. We heard the bulldozers. We came to the township. We
Right.
saw the the layout, and we're like, we can't do anything about it.
You would have
know-
liked to have input about maybe something that could have helped protect you from some of the noise and
Something. I mean, light
yeah,
pollution.
that-
It used to be. It was a beautiful area. It really
Right.
was. And
Mhm.
now it's just we across the street from us. It's a factory.
Right. It's regrettable that at the time they didn't get a hold of you,
there's-
because I think your input would have been like, okay, I realize it's going to be here, but is there some things you could do to accommodate us? That would have been.
Is there anything in the future that can accommodate us?
I don't know if there really is at this point.
I mean, there
in
could be.
time.
I think there's a majority of things that could be
It's
done.
a permitted use.
Yeah, it's a permit. I guess he means like you're talking like sound and lights and stuff like that. I wouldn't.
A fence in
you
front of
know,
our house. I mean, something that could be done to just stop some of this.
They
They're supposed to put a berm up, which they did, and they did a great berm, but they raised the ground like 15 feet, 10, 15 feet, and in front of our house, the approach, the berm, it tapers down, and we have this like 500-foot approach, or however long it is, and all we see is parking lot. And cars, like I said, going in and out all day, and then like at night, it's kind of a joke, but yeah, it's like, it's like a NASCAR circuit. I don't understand why they have to do that. It's their employees. Don't they respect the area?
Right.
But
Well, actually, I think they do respect the area. They've done a lot of things that show that in the development of that property. Again, it's a legal use, and it's part of the times. Expansion happens. Grand Blank's got the same thing. The farms on North Holly Road are disappearing and becoming the new factory for Magma, and the other two homes are for sale, and they're going to end up because they've rezoned that.
and where's that at?
It's on North Holly Road in Grand Blanc, just north of Ogun County. It's in Genesee.
Well, that area off Baldwin Road, that's been zoned for.
It's south of the hospital.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
and that's understandable.
I mean, I'll tell you this: Dixie Highway is going to change dramatically over the next 4 years. Are you familiar with the ORV park that's going to open up?
I'm not.
Okay, the ORV park they've been working on again before I came into office. 5 years.
At least.
5 years. The projected opening date now has been moved. I believe it's March of 2020. But it's all the gravel pits along 75. That's going to become a tourist destination.
I'm going to say this much. I'm for that. All those gravel trains. I mean, how many times have we had busted windshields? I mean, that's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Well,
would
but
rather
I'm-
see
but I'm saying
RVs than
so-
semi-trains.
But understand one thing. While you're saying you're for that, and that's great, the gravel trains are gone, it also means that hotels and motels and other businesses are going to show up and want to build around a travel destination. So that whole corridor is going to change over time. and when you have a legal use in this, I just wanted to be careful when you said they don't respect the area. They've really done a lot in their planning.
I guess what I was saying is it's the employees, not the
Right.
chain distribution. I mean, I don't know how much money they bring in, but I mean, I hope they do respect
Well,
the area, and they
perhaps Shannon will send a notice out to their employees to be respectful of the neighbors. I see the head shaking right here from Mr. Lum now.
And I don't want to be a whiny person. That's not my. We've
No,
been
we
there for
understand.
since 1978. We never once have been one bit whiny. Like I said, never go to these meetings. I don't know how these operate, but just to hear my voice, and if there's something that can be done for us, I mean, there's got to be
He
something.
just made you an offer, so I think
Okay.
that's the
Would-
purpose of public hearing. That's a good thing.
But is No, I really do appreciate that a lot.
But to your other answer, as far as the individual letter, and I'm a citizen before I was an elected official, and sometimes I used to get mad, and I was on the other side of this table, and I ran.
I guess I'm not mad. We're just
No, well, it's
frustrated.
frustrating, though.
Exactly.
And I get that. But my point to you is that we are cordoned by the law. The legislature is what puts the law. The law says in order for us to have meetings, we have to post them, we have to do this, we have to post them in 3 places. We have to, when we're doing something like that, we have to put the article in the paper that you see here that was put in the paper. So we have our requirements, too, that we have to notify everybody, and that's the best we can do. The one part that I myself as a citizen used to get frustrated with, and I have respect for now that I sit on this side of the table, is I as a citizen have a respect to keep track of that stuff if I want to know what's going on. I can't expect them to come to my door every day and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
And I never once expected that, but just even a letter. It's not like, we got like 50 homes there.
No,
There's 6
I
homes.
understand, and I want you to know, since I've been in office, we've got a project going on North Holly Road, and I sent a letter 2 different times I've done this to the residents. Once was over the gas for North Holly Road, Consumers Power. I sent out a letter, signed it, and I also sent out a letter in regards to the farmstead. And out of both of those letters, and all of those letters that went out to all those people, only one person responded. Remember? And you sit there, and I thought,
Well, you know why?
do
Do you know why? Because people like their peace. They like their quiet. They don't want to get involved with all this, the politics side of it. That's why we have you, but I understand you sent out the letters, and that's very, generous on your part. But on our part, it's like, we don't want to get involved with all this. I don't want to be here right now. I don't want to be complaining to all of you. I mean, that's
But the point I was trying to make was
I'm sorry.
I was trying to go above and beyond, send
Yes,
that letter.
and you did.
While other people said, you don't have to do that. And I said, well, I'm going to do it. And then it would have been nice if I could have come back and said, see, we had 5 or 6 responses, and instead we got nothing.
No, Michael, that's very nice of you. I promise you.
So
If I if I had anything in the mail, I would have been able to to voice my my
I
voice, I guess,
understand.
whatever.
I would say, especially, well, I think if something comes before the planning commission, and I can say, that I think we might be able, for 6 houses, we might be able to reach out and say, because like George said, there's going to be more development along there.
Yeah.
And we might, try to make a point of, since it is a limited amount,
Yeah, exactly.
You're kind of the last of the line along there, and I don't think it would be beyond our capabilities to make
So-
sure that a letter gets sent out to you.
Well, and unfortunately, as nice as that sounds, we can't make that statement publicly, because then it sets a precedent, and we have to do it across the board. And then
Well,
you get into the debate of, do you send it
maybe
to
we
6
should.
to
Exactly.
4
And
to 10 to 12?
Well, and then
So-
what do people want?
Well, I guess when you come down-
Yeah.
I guess when
So
you
the
come
bottom
down
line
to
is
it-
we go by the laws that are set up, that are dictated.
Follow
I'm sorry
reason.
that you missed those and it fell. But the good news is you came tonight for this public hearing, and you got some response from the owner, and I'm hoping that
Yes,
that
thank you, Edward.
relationship will
George,
be
can
good.
I just respond real quick there and I'll let it go?
Sure.
Is that if we have something that's going to impact a residential area in that, it goes down to this. Yes, we might send out some letters and not get any response. But the fact of the matter is we sent them out. We hold meetings sometimes and we have nobody in this audience, but we still hold the meetings. We hope for people to show up. We hope for people to respond on it.
Yeah,
That's
thank you,
really
Peter.
not our prerogative to sit there and say, well, since I don't think they're going to respond. I think as public officials, what we should do is make it as cover as much as we can. And on something like this, okay, I just made a public statement. Now, what's the cost involved? What's the point of saying, look, we have a meeting coming up concerning your area? Now, whether someone shows up or not, granted. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've ran into quite a bit of opposition from the village when I pointed out when a piece of property was sold, and I just pointed out to the individuals in the neighborhood, this is what's happening. And, things are going to happen with it. Well, there's a problem. I had, village officials all upset about that. And it's like, what's the point? All I'm stating is, this is what's going to happen. Guess how many responses we got? They actually had fielded 3 calls from people from the area. Wasn't exactly the most monumental, but the fact is, now they could sit there and say they've been notified.
Yes.
And that's all. That's all he's asking for. That's all I think. And in the end, I don't think it's going beyond. And I don't think committing ourselves to informing the public is anything way beyond what we should be doing. Yes, we have to stay tuned to the laws. Like, it's not a lot you can do about it. but you can come to the hearing and hear what's going to happen. I mean, you know, that's probably the best we could have done to you, no matter what, you know. But the fact is that you come and you know what was coming. And the odds are you would have probably not been surprised by the traffic if you saw the pattern and the way things were set up. And
Oh, when we found out.
I
we were
think it's
devastated.
generous that he's going to, you know, sit there, you know, maybe talk and on that. And maybe you could ask him if there's some other things that can be done. But, you know, that's, you know. But, you know, they have been, I will tell you that anybody that's dealt with Shannon on the Planning Commission or anything else has been very happy, and they said they've been very cooperative. So, you know, I think you have a good company to deal with there and that, and I, you know, hope some things can get resolved for you.
No, I totally appreciate what you said. I mean, because in the grand scheme of things, our neighbors, I tried to get people involved when it was first started going up, and I couldn't get anybody involved because there are new people that live there. There's a house, they rent out the houses. So it's like, what can you do? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So for us, though, being right in front of Shan Distribution, I mean, we've been affected. Like and we've had 2 weddings there, my wedding and my wife's wedding. You know, we want to raise our family there. It's just like, it's been our home with my family. It's just like, this is our home.
Mm-hmm.
And to think like, oh, hotels are going up, but, you know, it's a new era. I get that. But it's like, what can be done for us to help us out in the process? I mean, it's been on my mind for 2.5 years. I mean, this is like every day. It's like we constantly have to deal with this every day. It's not like it goes away like, oh yeah, we feel fine. But seeing this in like the paper, which my neighbors on that pointed this out to me, is why I'm here right now. It's just like one more thing. It's like, I don't know, you know, what can be done. But yeah, thank you very much for your card. I will be calling you. Thank you, Everett. Thank you very much for all your time, Peter, Sue, Michael, and.
No, top ones.
Oh, Patrick! I've been calling you Peter, man. Why didn't you say something?
I don't think Pete wants to admit to being me.
Oh, yeah, Patrick. And thank you very much for your input, too. I really do appreciate it.
All right, anyone else for public hearing on the industrial development district? None appearing. Chair would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Support.
Motion by Treasurer Freeman, support by Clerk Winchester to close public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next public hearing is on the 2019 Community Development Grant Application. Chair would entertain a motion to open that public hearing.
Motion to open.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Winchester, support by Treasurer Freeman to open on the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant application. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The Community Development Block Grant for 2019, the public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak, come on up to the microphone, state your name and address.
All right, before I do that, do you mind if I hand you some
Nope.
materials?
Nope, and then when you get back, kind of get that microphone so that
Okay.
so that we hear you.
Okay. Not quite as tall. Is that all right? So good? Okay.
Don't back away from it.
Okay. My name is Shelby Nardone. I am here representing Haven of Oakland County. Our address is 801 Vanguard Drive, Pontiac, Michigan 48341. For those who don't know what we do at Haven, we are Oakland County's only treatment and prevention center for domestic and sexual violence. I think it's really important that I came here today just to put a face to an agency, to let folks know that we're in the community, and that we rely a lot on the donations from the municipalities such as yourselves. 50% of our funding comes from federal grants like VOCA, the Violence of Crime Act, and VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act. But the other 50% of that we really rely on is community support. So I wanted to come here today and introduce myself, introduce Haven as an agency, that we are a part of your community and that we really would like your support in that. And I'm here to answer any of your questions. The materials that I passed out to you highlight all of the services that we provide to constituents, to our clients, that are completely free of charge. They don't cost a dime, we don't bill insurance or anything like that, so everyone can have access to our services. Any questions?
Mr. Freeman?
No.
Mr. Feeney?
No, my wife was involved through a program through Beaumont working with Avon and that, so I'm
Yeah.
familiar with it, and it's a very good program.
We have a really good partnership with Beaumont. That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are you planning on making any votes this evening, or are you posting at a later date? No,
This evening.
this evening? Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And then just for the record, we were given a letter from Neighbor for Neighbor today, had to make part of the public record.
Okay. Right, anyone else for public hearing on the 2019 Community Development Block Grant application?
I would move to close the hearing.
Support.
Moved by Clerk Winchester, support by Treasurer Freeman to close public hearing. All in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Sorry about that. Okay, now we'll go into reports. Trustees, Pat, you're up.
All right, well, we're going to be covering, from the Planning Commission, we're going to be covering in a few minutes on the the wind power. And get our solar power and wind power mixed up here. Want to say that it was definitely a well thought out program, and the emphasis on it, our proposal is more towards the idea of we're probably not going to have large amount of wind farms in Holly, but we might have in the future more personal use of it. So we kind of directed the whole idea of the solar program that, you know, we took away some of the obstacles so individuals could do it. But by saying that we're not going to have large ones, people say, well, you know, how big of a deal is this? We actually had Glenn Mitchell was approached for his farm, and I guess golf course was proposed too. So there actually was some interest. I think something we got to keep in mind is our energy supply system is going to be very diversified in the future. And I think, you know, to say that, well, you know, we really don't fit the norm, as we found out with the solar, because there was interest in Holly for solar also, is that, you know, we might not be a major player, but there's going to be people that are going to be interested in establishing something, you know, down the line. So it was very important that we have our ordinance in accordance with that. Something else I actually kind of wanted to bring up, because I've had a couple of residents mention it to me, and it kind of came up at last night's parks meeting, and that concerns the office, and that would be the 3 statutory officers at the township office. We've had residents state to the fact that they've gone in at times and not been able to find different people. I'm not picking on anybody. This is, you know, I've heard it on all 3. So, you know, haven't been able to find the person that they need to speak to at that time. And, you know, we explained, you know, these are the hours, and, you know, they do have duties and things like that. So part of the discussion that came up with the individual last night was like, well, you know, my time's limited. The township hours are limited. You know, I go in there, it's like, I understand sometimes you might miss somebody, but it would be nice to know when they're going to be in. And, you know, they said, you know, we come in and we find out that, you know, they're gone for a few days, but one person doesn't know this from the other person. And I was thinking about it. I don't know. It might not be something that you guys would be entertained, but I thought I'd throw it out there. How about a board at the front of the office, maybe on the counter? Basically, you know, private businesses do it. Police stations you will see, and I've seen use it. And it basically would just have your names on there, have the calendar out there on there, and it would just state if you're not going to be there, what hours you might be there. If you're out of the office at that time, you just have a little magnet say "I'm out." So, you know, an individual could look at that. You could go in, and someone says, well, so-and-so, if they're going to be here, said, well, check the board, there's their schedule. It's just a suggestion. I mean, it's only, you know, and it's just one of those things where I think the vast majority of people understand we're a small operation. You know, they don't expect, you know, but they also have to understand that you guys are individuals and we don't have humongous staffs. But the thing is, we also have to be considerate of the residents from the point of view that, you know, their time's valuable too. And something else that I have heard too is, well, you know, you have late hours on Wednesdays. We tell people that, you know, they ask us that, and they sit there and they go, but not everybody's there. And I guess my suggestion would be is, you know, make it as much possible that all three of you are there on Wednesdays till close. Now, once again, it goes back to, you know, you could probably be there a dozen Wednesdays and nobody ever shows up. But you know how that goes. The person, excuse me, who shows up and needs to do business and you're not there, well, we're going to hear about that more, you know. But it's just a suggestion there. And like I said, it's come up several times and came up last night. You know, someone saying, well, you know, I didn't know they were gone. Nobody in the office seemed to know they were gone on vacation. And I'm like, well, I said, I couldn't, you know, I'm not there, so I can't tell you. I don't know what their schedules are. But, you know, I was just thinking the board thing would be something that someone could look at, you know. And we do have regular people who come in who would probably appreciate it. It's like, okay, so-and-so, I can come back later. So just a suggestion there. And that's, oh, the one thing one last thing I just wanted to say is that I thought it was very encouraging when I was asked about the new water district at the Planning Commission, and I thought it was a very positive response from the Planning Commission. They were very excited to see that there will be water over in that area, and they thought that, you know, I think that bodes well for cooperation for future development, because, you know, that was a big concern with a lot of people on the Planning Commission, you know, the lack of sewer system and water system, you know, and the environment and that, and they were very enthusiastic about that. So they were, you know, I think that's a positive sign to see that the Planning Commission, I think that'll bode well in the future for someone coming in front of them with a project. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Treasurer.
My deputy treasurer has been experiencing some major medical issues. She's also been absent quite a bit over the last 2 months, and she is requesting medical leave. That's number 6 under new business. That'll be discussed then. As a result, the winter tax bills, which we have been, all tax bills, we have been processing in-house. What that means is we print them, we sort them, we stuff them, and we mail them all right out of our office. We're probably one of the last, if not the last, township in Oakland County that is doing that. Beginning with the winter taxes for 2018, we have contracted with Oakland County Intermediate School District, who has a print shop who prints tax bills for most of the townships in Oakland County, and we will be having them print our tax bills, and they will continue to print our tax bills going forward.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. And the clerk.
No report.
No report? Okay. For the supervisor's report, the cemetery, the contract for the tree trimming of the cemetery was executed. If you get a chance to go out and drive through Oak Hill off of Grange Hall Road, they did an incredible job. There are some before and after pictures on the supervisor's page. In regards to the work they did, there's actually one photograph you'll see before and after. I tell people to look at the white dot in the center of the picture. When you look at the after picture, the white dot, oh, excuse me, the white dot is actually the top of a monument that's about 6 feet high. You couldn't even see it at all for the growth and the vegetation that it had overcome that area. And then you'll see in the lower part of that picture where 3 headstones showed up as well. There were a couple across the front, but the next row was just buried with growth. And they took a lot of the deadwood out. They cleaned a lot of the trees up so you can actually walk around, and if somebody's there and they turn around, they're not going to get hit in the face with a branch, or at least that's our hope. So that we cleared it, kind of gave it about a 7-foot clearance through a lot of that stuff. So they really did a good job. They cleaned up the sides of it. If we can be successful in getting the quitclaim deed for that back corner of the cemetery, and include that. There's in the northeast corner of the cemetery back in the early 1800s, they buried some bodies back there, and they're outside the parameter of the cemetery. So we have reached out to Silverman, who owns that property, and they have agreed in email to quitclaim the. We did the survey drawing the township did how many years ago? Quite a few. So it was another file that I found when I came in office. We've been working on it. They've agreed to quitclaim that to us, and once we get that done, we'll be able to get the fence and include that. So that's some good news there. The cleaning of the trees and the brush at the farmstead happened this week. There's an incredible difference if you go in there and see what they were able to clean up and got those vines out of the big old trees out behind the house, and they took out a lot of the seedlings along the road on the north end of the property. They cleaned all that scrub that was out of there. They left a few trees that dot along the area, but it'll open that up so that next year we can do some planting of the kind of trees we'd like to have up there and make it look nice. I was out there when they started the work. The equipment that they brought with them, they had a bulldozer that had a piece on the front of it that looked like a snowblower, but it was this big barrel, and it rolled, and as they drove into it, it literally took anything 4 inches and under and spit it out like cornmeal. It was crazy and it just was like whoosh. It was incredible how fast that worked. But they haven't completed the work out there yet. They did probably 90% of it, and then they're going to be back the first of this week to do that. There's a dead tree up by the north house that they've got to take out yet. And they've given us a lot of the wood chips for projects in the spring going forward. So they've done a nice job there. We have on the agenda tonight the building for demolition on Fish Lake Road, so we'll discuss that. I'm just looking at what I talked about last time, giving you an update through here. And I have some meetings in regards to the water district in the north part of the township. You guys use road planning, right? Yeah, road planning works with Shannon, and they're also working with Genesee County Water Division. So it makes it kind of nice that we can talk about the whole thing with the same people at the table. So we'll be meeting on that as we bring that forward. And I think that pretty much covers everything.
I had a quick question, George.
Sure.
Someone had asked me a couple months ago, and I should have asked you before now, but is there any group or anything or anybody that's interested in going through and checking out some of the old grave sites and doing some historical, like digging up, not digging up, I should say, finding out names and that at the cemetery. Yeah, digging up, that was a poor. Yeah, genealogy. Thank you very much. Was there anybody that you know of that's been interested in doing that?
I've actually had a couple, not a group, but I've had a couple of individuals in the spring. We have, because the township didn't always own that cemetery, we have some paperwork with names and who's buried where.
Right.
And because by the time it got to the township, it had been copies of copies of copies.
Right.
Some of it's kind of rough. So they're going to take that in the spring. Obviously, when the weather's nicer, they're going to go out and they're going to match some of that up, and we're going to try to update that. And the eventual goal is to get that on a database so that it's not just old papers that are rolled
right.
up. Your comment about dig things up, it's okay, because I said when I started this, I wanted to bring new life to the cemetery. And my reference was the fact that we have a lot of empty sites that
Right.
people could use. And a lot of people had said, I didn't know that cemetery was up there, or I didn't know there was anything. So we're trying to bring new life to the cemetery in that respect. Cleaning up is part of that project. The new fence that is out up front certainly helps. Getting a fence around. The fence that we've pulled out of some of those sections in the back, I don't know exactly how old it is, but based on what they used, we're thinking before World War II on that fence back there and the way it was put in. And there were some graves that were all the way up on the outer perimeters of the especially on the west side, that when the company went through and cleared all that out, they found,
More.
I don't know, what, 12, 15?
I was going to say at least a dozen,
Yeah, headstones up there that the current lawn mowing company was mowing probably a foot to 2 feet away from. We didn't even know they were there. They were buried. There are some stones up there that need resurrecting, the monument and stuff, and we'll look at that as we go forward. One of the things I'm working on for there is the possibility of installing a columbarium to the front of that cemetery. I have spoken with Gordy Dreyer. Cremation is almost at 50% now through the funeral homes, and other than the National Cemetery, we don't have any of the cemeteries in our area. And when I say our area, down into Rose Township, over into Groveland, not just the village and the township, but in our whole area, none of them have a columbarium for something like that. And with that cemetery being on Grange Hall Road with high visibility, that's a possibility. You can start small, and those things can be added to as time goes by. So we're looking at all of those things. We'll be bringing those projects before the board, and at the same time we look at them, we'll be looking at grant monies to do some of these projects as well, if we can find it out there. So that pretty much concludes my report. Public comment is on agenda items only. There's another public comment at the end of the meeting for other items. Members of the public can address the board on agenda items only, once recognized by the supervisor. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. The board may extend this time by a majority vote. Prior to addressing the board, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. And then, of course, it says the second one's available after new business for all other comments. Anyone for public comment? Going once? Twice? I'll say, Richard, you awake? He's awake. Okay, we will move on to old business. Township Hall appraisals. We have one in front of us, which is the North Star Appraisal LLC. That is the company that did the appraisals for the village fire department and police department buildings. We reached out to 4 different companies for appraisals. I talked with one on the phone tonight before we came here because he was supposed to be sending me a bid, and it didn't show up, and it didn't show up. And when I called his office, he had left for the holiday weekend, and I happened to have a connection to him. My wife's daughter-in-law is his niece. It's her uncle. So I went the extra. I called her to see if I could get his number. I called him, and he apologized and said he totally forgot about it. He had an emergency call. He was at the vet. He's not had a good week. All he told me, and I'm only sharing this with you because it's not on paper, but it'll help you as you look at this one. He said that it would be somewhere in the range of $1,600 to $2,400. And he said if you need me to get that on paper, he apologized for not having it in. But this is the only one that we received physical. I have that conversation on the phone before coming here, and the other 2 didn't respond. So that's what you have in front of you. And for the public that's sitting out there, the appraisal that we have in front of us is, I said his was 16 and 24. This one is 15 to 1850. So it gives you kind of an idea.
Now, when
Of course,
it says here, total appraisal fee $1,500, sales what does that? And then it says below it, total appraisal fee $1,850, sale appraisal plus income. What's that mean?
They would appraise it based on what kind of income can be produced within the building.
Oh, okay, so they go the extra step and saying this is what
you're looking at is your basic appraisal is 15. If you want additional sales approach plus income approach added to your appraisal, it's 1850.
So the first one is basically, here's the building, this is what I appraise it at. The extra 300 and something or 200 and something would explain this is what you could use it for. This is what would be the most. Okay, all right. That's
now what's interesting, because it tells you in the dark print down there that it says it's an additional $350 for the income approach if you want that added to the appraisal. And that's what he meant when he said it was from 16 to 2400.
That's what I was
trying. It depends on how flowery and how much info you need.
Right, that's it.
So, but it shows you that 16 to 24 is kind of in the range of this one as well. And I wish we'd had 4.
They did a good job for the village.
The ones that we had from the village, for both buildings, were pretty complete.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. Did you like the bottom line appraisal? That's what I was
Actually, I thought it was pretty darn good.
Yes, that's what I was
Whether
thinking
they'll sell it for that is another
Well, that's
story.
true, you know. Well,
So
how do
what's your
we
pleasure?
approach this? That's, we only had one.
I don't-
That happens usually, we
Does that-
go
that-
forward, yeah, if you don't get them,
Mhm.
yeah, move
Do,
forward.
do we really need the income approach?
I don't think we do.
I don't either.
No, I
It
think
seems to me anybody that's made offers
Yeah.
on it hasn't really had a set
No.
idea anyway, so it really doesn't
Well, and
make
to me, it seems like it would be pretty theoretical.
It
right,
would be.
right,
Doesn't-
right, right. Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
Just
Correct,
means that's a
yeah.
possibility.
Right,
Yeah.
it's pretty much just additional support to where they came up with the appraisal.
Mhm.
Right. And it doesn't matter if they said it would be great for this, we can't direct it anyway, so it doesn't, you know, if they say no, whoever buys it says, no, that's crazy, I don't want to do it, so it really doesn't make any difference.
So what's your pleasure?
I would move to approve the appraisal from, or the appraisal proposal from North Star Appraisal.
Support.
Moved by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustee Feeney, that we accept the appraisal bid by North Star Appraisal for a total appraisal fee of $1,500. Any further discussion? None appearing. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Mark Freeman,
Yes,
Karen Winchester,
Yes,
Pat Feeney,
Yes.
George Cullis.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay. As I moved this over here, I noticed I had, when I gave you the report of the work that had been done on the farms and the trees, I supplied the board members with some photos. If those of you in the public are interested in seeing, these are some before and after pictures of the actual work that was done. Ed, if you want to grab this and just take a look at it and then pass it around. That's there. I forgot I had brought those for people. Okay, we will move on to new business. Adoption of a resolution to establish an industrial development district in accordance with the Plant Rehabilitation and Industrial Development Districts being State of Michigan Public Act 198 of 1974, amended by the MCL 207.551. That's Resolution 2018, number 18. So you don't think I'm stuttering.
I would move to approve Resolution 2018-18, a resolution to establish an industrial facilities district.
support.
It has been moved by Clerk Winchester with support from Treasurer Freeman to approve Resolution 2018, number 18. Roll call, please.
Pat Feeney,
Yes.
George Cullis,
Yes?
Karen Winchester,
Yes,
Mark Freeman.
Yes,
Okay, and motion carries. So, excuse me while I keep all my papers in order here. Okay, we will move on to number 2, is the show cause hearing for 16364 Fish Lake Road. I don't see Mr. Liu here this evening.
No, he received his notice and I had informed him verbally last week of the following proceedings. He has a copy of our dangerous buildings ordinance as well as the reports that I put into your packets. Right now, all we're asking is for the Township Board to approve an extension of 60 days to Mr. Liu. We have been in contact with his adjuster, so we do know that he does have the funds that he needs for the repair or for the demolition. We also know that he has been in contact with Lopez Engineering to get the engineering report that is required by the report from the dangerous buildings hearing in order for him to repair instead of demolish. We have not gotten the full report that says he can go ahead and move forward with a repair. There's going to be some things that he needs to do in order for an appropriate assessment of the supporting structure to be done. So he is going to need a little bit more time for that, and as well as to submit the proper paperwork for the necessary building permits to do that repair or for the demolition.
So the original engineering one was incomplete. Was that basically?
Correct.
So in other words, he wasn't sawing. He actually had gone ahead with the process of getting an engineering, but it wasn't a complete one. Okay, so
Right.
it's not
So
a
he
case
was
of
only
trying to-
able to assess what was damaged by the fire,
Right.
instead of the entire
Entire building.
supporting structure.
We have a little bit of a language breakdown.
That's what you were
Mr.
saying.
Liu is Chinese. His first name is Gushan. When he went and requested the engineering report, he requested an engineering report because he had a fire, so the engineer went out and did a typical engineering report. When it came into the office, we actually know Tom Mickelson called him, and he wasn't aware of the other needs. We faxed him some of that information, so that's part of it. Then the other thing that you forgot to mention was we also have a bond on deposit on
For
this
the
project
demolition, yes.
for the demolition.
I got it
Correct.
today.
So those are
then
two
part
good
of
things.
that's coming from his settlement, his insurance settlement.
That's
right?
where it came from.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
so that's.
So we
Right.
have that on.
So in other words, he's been following it. We just didn't have enough information.
Right,
so
and
I
we've
don't
been
see
in
it.
contact
Yeah.
with Mr. Liu, his engineer, as well as his adjuster, as well as the investigators. So we know that he is on target. He's come into the office and been very amenable to any of our requests. He is very much aware of what our expectations are and what he needs to do and be able to move forward. So it's my understanding as the code enforcement and Mr. Liu's understanding that he needs an extra 60 days.
And I took a look at the property, and from a code enforcement, is this secured enough? Because it looked like it for me.
It
but
is,
so
yeah.
everything.
Belfour went out there and did a professional board
Yeah,
up. Mr. Liu is working on removing the contents for the repair,
Right.
the anticipated repair. He does know my expectations for that as well, being that it's kind of a blight issue, which he already had blight issues before. But again, he's very amenable and working with us.
I mean, when I took a look at it, it looked relative. I mean, obviously there's been a fire, but it looked like it was relatively clean around it and that. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah, the fire originated in the basement, so really it's the supporting structure
underneath.
that has been affected, and there's some pre-existing effect to his supporting structure that also caused increased concern from our fire chief, our building inspector,
Right.
as well as our dangerous hearings officer, Chief McGee. So we have a lot of expertise involved in helping Mr. Liu get to where he needs to be.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve the 60-day extension for the property at 16364 Fish Lake Road.
Support.
So we have a motion by Supervisor Cullis with support by Clerk Winchester to grant the 60-day extension on the property at Fish Lake Road 16364. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we can move on to number 3, adoption of Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan. That's proposed resolution 2018-19. Karen? You want to
This-
fill us in on what it is?
Well, it's all of the communities in Oakland County adopt the Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan, so that they are part and they can dispatch together. It's working with our fire departments.
Okay. Sometimes we have to remember with the cameras, people at home are going, what the heck is
Yeah.
that thing? So I'm just trying
Okay.
to add a little to it. This is something new. These meetings have only been online for people to view that aren't able to get here. And we've been doing it maybe 6 months? About 6 months. So we're all still learning to talk to you, the audience, and the audience at home as well.
So this is basically a set plan that we agreed to still be part of. Okay, that's
Yep. Okay.
I would move to approve the adoption of the Oakland County Hazard Mitigation Plan, proposed resolution 2018-19.
Support.
It has been moved by Clerk Winchester with support by Treasurer Freeman to approve Resolution 2018-19. Roll call, please. Yes?
Karen Winchester,
Yes.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Pat Feeney.
Yes.
Okay, we will move on to, motion carries, sorry. We will move on to number 4, which is the 2019 CDBG application and sub-recipient agreement. The proposed resolution is 2018-20.
Actually, this is, we rotate usually with public services, and the proposal this time is the battered and abused spouses, which is Haven.
Which is Haven?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just the Oakland County Improvement Program, until such time that the board has some other program that we could probably program it to, then we would do a request to have it reprogrammed. I haven't found anything that we can do this year so far. The village doesn't have anything. They just got done with the car wash, the demolition of the car wash.
I actually was down there on yesterday.
Okay.
I had to deliver a paper there.
Mhm.
We had a mail glitch, and we had to get it there so that it was deadline. And I set up a meeting with her to meet next week to get some ideas on how we can use some of that. So.
It's the application's due December 1st, so we do have to agree tonight to something.
To something.
Yeah, and
this
then
basically puts it on hold.
lets us apply.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion?
So
So moved.
what amounts are we going to be giving from the block grant?
To Haven.
To Haven.
Of 4586.
Okay,
The
so that is
maximum
the maximum.
is
And we
30% of what we get from.
right, and we can't break that up, right, by rule. It has to either go one, is that
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay, just so for people's understanding on that, it's, the rules say that it has to go as a chunk. So it's not, because when
You can't
people
break it
see,
up.
when people see that amount, they said, well, why can't you spread it around? Well, we wish we could, you know. In fairness to two other groups that are involved in the community, one I think we kind of addressed with the Holly Area Youth Association the last time. We gave them $2,400.
No, probably about around the same amount.
The same amount, but the amount. No, I meant the ones we gave directly to them out of our budget instead of out of.
We do that
Yeah.
annually. That's our donation.
Donation.
It's not a
but-
donation.
Right,
It's
and
actually
that
a
one is
payment for support of their office.
Service.
right, they're off it, and that isn't restricted on what they
For
could
youth
spend it on, right?
services.
Correct.
So that's just something that's, we
That's for
want
administrative
But
costs.
we are one of the municipalities that are a sponsoring body of HIA.
right.
Mhm.
The only reason why I bring that up is that I'm sure we'll have questions from people in the community. Why aren't we giving anything? Well, it's like we do. We're just not giving them the block grant money. We're giving them money that we committed to as
And
being part of
We
the
do
group.
that annually.
And they
so,
don't, and they haven't spent all their money from
Right.
the previous years.
Right, so that's,
you
yeah.
wouldn't fund them again. The federal government expects HUD, which funds this through Oakland County, expects you to spend your money
Right.
quickly. So you will have to really assess what your community needs so that you can get the money spent. They don't like it sitting.
Right.
Yeah.
See that, what
Well,
George
and
was
one of-
saying
one of-
about the
just
community.
so you know, because I've been in these meetings with Haya, and that's why I set that meeting up with her. One of the problems are their restrictions are so
Right,
complicated.
right, that is.
Right down to the
They
fact
are.
that you can't, if you use the word youth versus
Children.
children,
Children,
yeah,
right.
youth versus children. I mean, there's a difference between those two. All of a sudden, these funds can't be used for that because
No.
it has to go. The federal, it's complicated.
It is.
We actually had her out here
Right,
for
that's
a
what I was gonna
workshop for the different groups. Did you participate in that workshop?
No, we did not, but I'm trying really hard to get into Holly High School to participate. We're actually opening
No,
up.
I'm referring to a workshop with CDBG funds
No,
as
she
to how they
wasn't that-
could be
yeah.
used and how they would be spent.
Oh, no, I did not get to go to that workshop. No.
And-
The reason why I wanted to kind of bring this up and having this kind of discussion, because we'll get a lot of people, well, why didn't you give money to them? It's a local one and that. And after we went to that meeting, you know, it was kind of one of those things where they're having a hard enough time, not of their own making, but because of the rules of spending the money they were getting. So, you know, when we talk to people in the community, I just wanted to make it clear that, you know, if we could have like split the money, number one, that would, you know, I've gladly seen something like that. Number two, you can understand where we might be looking at a different group because we have one group that hasn't spent all their money. And like I said, but that's not all their fault because, like George said, I was just amazed at all the restrictions. And the woman's like, you can't say it that way, you can't say it this way. And I'm like, wow. You know, it was a little
Oh
mind-boggling.
no, some of it's almost
Yes.
like double talk.
You're right, definitely.
Can we do this? No, you can't do that, but if you word it this way, you can.
Yes.
And you're
Right.
like, really? But it makes the difference.
Right.
So,
All right.
I will make a motion that we approve the resolution 2018-20, which gives, what did I do with it? Turned it over already, sorry. $4,586 to the Haven, and it puts $11,368 in the Oakland County Home Improvement Program.
Support.
So it is moved by Supervisor Cullis with support from Clerk Winchester to pass resolution 2018-20. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Karen Winchester,
Yes.
George Cullis,
Yes.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Pat Feeney.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so then we will go on to the proposed solar ordinance. Go ahead.
Well, I talked about it a little bit in my report area. I think if you've gone through and read through that, you'll see that we tried to cover, about any scenario that we could picture would be in Holly. And like I said, a lot of the emphasis was put on individual use, which I think is probably more likely you're going to see in the future. When you're doing this and like that, like we found with the solar, I said solar, I meant wind power. As with the solar, a lot of people look and say, well, why do we need these ordinances right now? Well, times are changing, and they're changing rather quickly. And as Tony, our chair, pointed out, he says, you don't have to go too far to see large solar and wind farms around. And I don't know if you listen to the radio, Consumers Power is making a big deal out of it. That's going to be right in their mixing on that. But we also realize that in the immediate future, more likely you're going to see individuals using it. So we tried to cover, setbacks and, noise and things like that. And I think we did a pretty good job on that. And I would recommend that we pass this.
I would move to.
See, you recommend, were you going to make the motion?
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead.
okay. I would move to approve the proposed solar ordinance.
So it is moved by Karen Winchester to adopt or approve is the word you used, proposed solar ordinance.
I'll support that. How's that?
Support by Trustee Feeney. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Pat Feeney,
Yes.
George Cullis,
Yes.
Karen Winchester.
Yes.
Just for having I always mess up numbers. I realized this time it didn't have a number on there. When you guys always go 2 point this and that, that's why I'm always hesitant
all
about
new.
making,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm always hesitant to make these proposals because I've been a couple times, I think I messed up numbers on there, so it's not like I'm trying to pass it off for no good reason here.
Okay.
Oh, just one last. I'd just like to say that, one thing, and I always am very encouraged. Our planning commission, it wasn't any rubber stamp. There was talk back and forth, and that's what I always appreciate about it since I've been on the planning commission is that everybody gets their say. And, I would say anybody that ever has any something in front of the planning commission, you're more than welcome to come. You will get a fair shake, and you will see a variety of opinions. So don't ever feel if you hear one member say, I don't know if I'm going to be for that, because we have a way of coming to consensus that I think is very encouraging. And, you know, I've had people make comments. They said they've seen other planning commissions where it's like, it's almost a waste of my time to go in front of them because I pretty much know that nothing's going to change their minds. He said, come in front of yours, I know I can plead my case and you guys talk it through. And I really think that's something that we should be proud of with our planning commission.
Okay, well, item number 6 is a request for medical leave. Mark?
My deputy treasurer, Janice Nass, is requesting a medical leave of absence. She has turned in a letter for that request. Should I read that into the record? The letter is part of the record.
Yeah.
She is requesting sick leave, and according to our personnel policies, she can ask for this leave of absence and for up to 12 weeks maximum.
So the leave, according to this, would start December 1st and go through February 25th. Correct.
It would go for 12 weeks, yes.
I'm just reading what's here. Okay. Motion to approve?
Motion to approve the request for a medical leave by Deputy Treasurer Janice Nash.
Support.
So I guess it's going to be unanimous, seeing as we all wanted to support it. But we'll go ahead and do a roll call and make it official.
Karen Winchester,
Yes.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
George Cullis,
Yes.
Pat Feeney.
Yes.
And our best wishes go along with that. With the deletion of number 7, that moves number 8 in its place. That is the it now becomes number 7. AT&T Metro Act permit extension request. Karen?
We have or AT&T has a Metro Act permit with the township that had been reviewed by the township attorney and signed in 13. So they're asking for, so it's 5-year intervals. They can extend them.
So this is for a 5-year, so this will take it
Yes.
from 2018
To
2023.
2022?
December 31st, 2023.
Any changes per se?
No changes. No, just the
changes, no.
exact agreement that was already reviewed and approved by the board.
Okay. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
We'll give the motion to Clerk Winchester with support from Trustee Feeney. Any further discussion? None appearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are back to public comment, which is open to anything now. Anyone wish to speak in public comment? Boy, no takers on both ends. Well, for what it's worth, I hope everybody has a happy holiday season. Please be safe. I know you're traveling south.
Mm-hmm.
We're traveling south. Are you entertaining or being entertained?
Being entertained.
You're being entertained. And Mr. Feeney?
Being entertained.
There you go. Okay. For those of you in the audience and on camera, I hope everybody has a happy holiday and be safe. And thank you. We will adjourn this meeting at 7:46. What'd you think of it? Did you walk around the farmstead and take a look at it? Did you see the pictures? Isn't it incredible? You have no. I've never seen anything more amazing in my life.
The County Treasurers Association has a annual holiday luncheon.
You need to know the district doesn't give them approval for more buildings. It's just so that they can ask for tax abatements and stuff like that.
If you walk the property, in the back,
Yes, they do. That's true.
there are 3 of the bigger trees, and then